반갑습니다. Very nice to meet you. I was originally asked to deliver my lecture in Korean language, but at the last moment, since there are several guests from overseas, I'm going to deliver my lecture in English. But my lecture is always very clear and understandable, and so there will be no problem in communication. Okay. We are now living in the so-called globalized world, which we call Globalia. So to be successful in business, you must be successful in global markets, which is very, very tough and challenging. So I'm going to focus on which factors determine success in Globalia. The first success factor is innovation, which is today's topic. And there are many indicators of innovations. I think the number of patents is one of the indicators of innovativeness. As you see from this slide, mostly the Northern European countries like Switzerland, Sweden, Germany, and Netherlands are mostly innovative in the whole world in terms of number of patent application. And when it comes to the indicator of innovativeness, again, countries like Switzerland, Belgium, Sweden, Germany are leading countries. Also, Singapore and Finland are doing very well. Today, but when it comes to innovation, the most exemplary innovators of the world right now, so-called hidden champions. Hidden champions are the world-best, the world-class mid-sized companies which dominate the global market. So I'm going to discuss how they are doing, why they are so successful in innovation and market performance. Let me first mention how much they are spending on R&D. As you see, the global top 1,000 companies spend about 3%, 6% of their total revenue on R&D. But hidden champions spend about 6% of their total revenue on R&D. So in terms of R&D percentage, they are far higher than that of leading global top companies. But more than that, this is very instructive. The number of patents of hidden champions per 1,000 employees, 31, which is very, and the number, whereas the number of patents of large corporations, which spend a lot of money on R&D, only 6. So in terms of the number of patents, they are 5 times more productive than large companies. These are the representative innovative companies. And as you see, the blue letters are most hidden champions. In the case of Korea, most of the patents are applied by large companies. There are very few medium-sized companies which can apply for international patents. But of the 50 companies, about 40% of the leading companies in patent applications are hidden champions. Hidden champions, the so-called world-class mid-sized companies. Not only that, cost per patent for large companies is 2.7 euro, which is now almost same as the dollar, whereas hidden champions cost per patent is $0.5 million, which is 1/5 of the large companies. So that means their number of patent application is 5 times higher than large companies, but the cost per patent is 1/5 of large companies. Incredibly productive, incredibly innovative. So that's why I call them the exemplary innovators.
Im Weiten sieht es aus, als hätte es 4 Schornsteine, wie ein Dampfschiff. Doch die
This
Entwickler
is one of
des
the,
Pil-Hwa nutzen eine noch viel ältere
This is German.
Atomkraft, den Wind.
Let me skip this. So these are the typical recent innovations of hidden champion. Why they are so innovative? I think the first factor I should mention is their corporate culture. In the case of large companies, about only 19% of the large companies are both customer-driven and technology-driven. For most consumer product companies like Procter & Gamble, most of the innovations are driven by consumers or markets. And most of the high-tech companies, their innovations are driven by technology. But hidden champions, their innovations are driven by both customers and both technology. So they are customer-driven and technology-driven. So they are, the company, whole company is both market-oriented and technology-oriented. They understand market and technology in a balanced way. So since they are so familiar with the markets, also familiar with technology, they have, in fact, 2 drivers of innovation, technology and market. And most of their competitors are driven by either technology or market. And their innovation process is completely different from most other companies. This is, I think, the highlight of today's lecture. First, the involvement time management. In most of the cases, the time management, even though the company has become bigger, are involved from the start to the end in innovation. And many hidden champions have the patent office just on the time management. They are think so highly of the patent process. So involvement time management, which sends the message to whole company or the company that innovation is the most important factor in our company. And they say innovation is not the problem of money. The more money, the more innovation. No. They say in German, and very proudly, let me say just a couple of words in German. Innovation ist nicht eine Frage des Geldes. Innovation is not the problem of money. Innovation ist die Frage des Kopfes, des Prozesses und der Führung. Innovation is the problem of brain, leadership, and process, not the problem of money. So their R&D budget in absolute terms is far lower than the large companies, and their number of researchers is far lower than large companies, but they are much more productive and much more innovative than their large counterparts. And third factor is cooperation between functions. Innovation is not generated by R&D department alone. Innovation needs cooperation between sometimes with the marketing or sometimes with the production, sometimes with the purchasing, sometimes with logistics, etc. The whole functions may be needed to come up with a good innovation, and they do this. In the case of large companies, there are always barriers between functions, between production, between marketing and R&D, etc. But there are no barriers when it comes during the innovation process between marketing, production, R&D, logistics, purchasing, etc. And fourth, I say that one of the driver, innovation driver is customers. They work very closely with customers. They spend a lot of time with customers. They cooperate very closely with the customers. So lots of the innovation ideas come from customers, and they have a very deep understanding of what really customers need. Simply because they spend a lot more time with the customers than their competitors. And the customers actively cooperate with the hidden champions to come up with the solutions for their own needs. And they do it very fast, very fast. Speed is extremely important in innovation. So I talked about the patent applications. That's not the whole story. Even though they have now the innovation, many of them do not go to patent office because patent processing takes time. By the time the patent is approved, it's already too late. So they don't wait for the patent approval. They go directly to market because time is so important in the world of innovation. So involve more time management. Brain is more important than budget. Cooperation between functions, co-development with the customer, speeds. This is the main characteristics of the innovation process. So the first lesson, only innovation leads to market leadership. The hidden champions are massive innovators. The effectiveness of their R&D activities beats that of large companies by a factor of 5. Their innovation process are fundamentally different. The innovations are both market and technology driven. The second such factor is digitization. Let me begin with this statement. Not everything will be or can be digitized in the future, but everything that can be digitized will be digitized. This is a statement from a former CEO of General Electric, Jeffrey Emeritus. If you go to bed as an industrial company, you're going to wake up next morning as a software and analytics company. For hidden champions, the champions innovations, digitization is a huge challenge, but quite risky because they have been mostly industrial companies and service companies. But it can be also opportunity. Let me divide the digitization into two, one B2C and B2B. B2C digitization, this is an American game, probably also Chinese. There's no way to catch up with the American companies in B2C digitization. But B2B digitization is quite different. It's a totally different game because they focus on niche markets. Niche markets, by definition, it's not so big, which is not attractive for big companies, for big American companies. So they tend to ignore the niche markets in which the hidden champions are strong, which gives them some opportunities. And the digitization in the B2B market is extremely complex, far more complex, which provides a very high entry barrier for outsiders. And knowledge of these processes cannot be purchased in the market. The knowledge of these processes are not available in the market. So, on the one hand, digitization is a big threat and risk for hidden champions because they have not been digitized until recently. On the other hand, it's a big opportunity for them because B2B digitization gives a high barriers to entry and gives the hidden companies a certain protection. Many of you, I think, have heard names of like these companies: Pil-Hwa, Trump, Knopf, Fix, Flixbox, Motel One. Pil-Hwa is the world leader in high pressure washer, and they have their new production line can make 40,000 different variants in 24 hours. Because thanks to digitization, Trump, the world leader in metal processing using laser technology, develops industry platform. Flixbus, the European leader of long distance bus market, they have 80% market share for long distance buses thanks to digitization. these are success stories, but also the failure stories too, which means the digitization can be a huge opportunity to hidden champions, but also a big challenge and risk to them as well. These are the examples of hidden champions which have been very successful in digitization. TeamViewer, Frequentis, ARI, Inverse, Control Export, FormLD, Scope Visual. Let me skip these companies. And they are now world leader in autonomous driving. About 6% of the patents in autonomous driving are from Germany, and about 82% of supplies in autonomous driving are also from Germany, mostly hidden champions. So lesson 2. Digitization is a huge challenge for the hidden champions. The size of their markets, the deep know-how, create barriers to entry and offer certain protection. But they have to radically upgrade and change their qualification profile. Talent is a very serious bottleneck. And they are, most of the hidden champions are manufacturing. And let me remind you of the importance of the manufacturing sector. This is the correlation between trade balance in terms of the percentage of GDP and the share of manufacturing in terms of percentage of GDP. The higher the percentage manufacturing, the better the trade balance. Germany is the leading country in trade balance. They are the strongest manufacturing country. Korea and China are also strong in manufacturing. That's why Korea could recover from the shock of global financial crisis in 2008 so fast. At that time, we had a relatively strong manufacturing base. And these are the main contributions of hidden champions: 1 million new jobs, annual growth of 10%, and more than 200 new billionaires in terms of revenue, and a very large contribution to exports. And why they are so strong in manufacturing? This is the second highlight of my today's lecture. They never outsource their core competence. No outsourcing of core competence. So they don't like so-called state alliances. Americans like state alliance so much, they don't like state alliances. They have their own machine shop, which means they manufacture their own machines, which manufacture their products. They don't outsource the machine part to other companies. So it's not surprising. They are very secretive in R&D. So no outsourcing of core competence. They own their machine shops, very secretive in R&D, and they never enter into state alliances. This is the typical statement of the hidden champions. We produce all parts ourselves based on the quality standard we define. The parts should be top class to make our products top class. As many parts as possible are self-produced, all of which take place in a small region with down-to-earth people. We make our parts ourselves. We make our own tools. We can only deliver top quality if zero tolerance begins with these tools. Tools must be good. Tools must be top class. Parts must top class to make our final product top class. That's their philosophy, which is very different from the philosophy of United States, where in fact, I studied. And they are also very cost competitive. Let me summarize the lesson 3. A strong manufacturing base allows to keep just in the home market and at the same time to participate in Globalia, especially in emerging countries through exports. The hidden champions have defended their manufacturing base and intend to do so in the future. Cost competitiveness is indispensable. Now, let me go to the most important lesson of today's lecture, which is the leadership. How these companies are managed. Innovation is done by people. Companies managed by people. The people factor is the most important in any sector, including bioscience, biomedical science. They are, for them, the companies themselves. I'm the company, company is me. You need a personal purpose. They do nothing but manage the company. They totally focus on the companies only. They're very single-mindedness. The people they don't have any fear. They never fear any challenge, any risks. They're always full of stamina and perseverance. They're so inspiring to other people. They inspire other people to follow themselves. So these are the 5 characteristics of their leaders. And their style is completely different from those of American leaders. When it comes to your company philosophy or principles, they are very authoritarian, all top to down, no democracy when it comes to philosophy or basic strategy or basic principle of management. But when in implementing the strategy, implementing the principle, they delegate a lot of power to the people. So people can be very participative, can be very flexible in the details, as long as they adhere to the principles, like quality, top quality, or customer oriented, etc. So very authoritarian in principles and participative and flexible in the details. And they have they stay in the top post very long. Hidden champions CEOs remain in their position for about 20 years, so they can ensure the continuity of strategy, the continuity of philosophy. Whereas in the case of large companies, the average tenure of CEOs is just 6 years. And their turnover rate is very low. So the last lesson is this. The secret of the success of the company hidden champions lies in their leaders. Their leadership is authoritarian in the principles, but flexible in the details. Continuity is very high. Young CEOs and women play a more important role than in large companies. The new generation leaders are well-educated and global citizens. Let me summarize, I skipped just a couple of points, but let me summarize the whole contents of today's lecture. First, only innovation leads to hidden champions. It seems that most, but not all, hidden champions cope well with the digitization challenge. Defense of the manufacturing base is crucial. This includes a deep value chain and cost competitiveness. For success in the market, ultimately only value to customer counts defines the attainable price and profit. I skipped this part. They focus on value to customers, and their strategy is value-oriented, not price-oriented. They provide high value to customers, and they charge high price. So value-based pricing, not cost-based pricing. Security independence seems to be helpful for survival of hidden champions. So they do not particularly like IPO. Most of them are not public companies. Most of them are private companies. once you go to IPO, you are subject to too many regulations. The ultimate success secret of the hidden champions lies in their leaders. They're very authoritarian in principles, but very flexible and participative in the details. These are why the hidden champions are so successful in global market, why they are so innovative in Globalia. I originally prepared this profile for a 1-hour lecture, but I had to short it to 25 minutes. So I couldn't cover all the relevant topics, but I think I delivered the most relevant parts. Any questions so far, please?